these guys that aren't done with their eligibility. So you got, are they coming back? Are they not? We just decided to honor all 6 guys that are seniors. The only one that's exhausted his eligibility completely after this year is Estrada, but we don't want to put guys in positions to have to decide whether to honor them, not honor them. We're just going to honor all 6 of those guys. And then, I think the other guys will all graduate, and it's up to them whether they want to decide to use their COVID year or not after this year. So, we've got senior day, we've got spring break going on. I'd like to make a plea to all the students that are around still and they could stick around and fill up the student section. We've had unbelievable home environments for all of our SEC games. We need to do it again. So anybody that's debating whether to stick around, you can make your trip to the beach. We've got an 11 a.m. tip. You can leave as soon as the game's over. You'll still be down to the beach and plenty of time to enjoy the whole week. So make a plea to get the student section filled up. But, our players are going to have to bring it, whether student section's filled up like it's been or not. And to me, that's why it's a character game. Like, we got to bounce back after 2 losses. Are we winners? Do we have a competitive edge about us? Or, because we're not playing for a league title anymore. We're not playing for other than pride and some seeding. Like, if we do win, we think we guarantee ourselves at least a 2 or 3 seed in the SEC tournament. Obviously helps with the NCAA tournament. So we're going to see what our guys are made of Saturday, and we're going to have to play against a team that's got plenty of talent on Arkansas, and they're playing their best basketball coming into the season, so they're going to be ready to go for sure.
Yeah, Coach, I was actually going to ask you about those seniors. Have you had any conversation with those guys about potentially coming back, or is that something you're saving for after the year?
We're going to save that all for after the year, but, I mean, they're all more than welcome to come back. We love them all. I've talked a lot about, I think we owe it to Aaron to give everything we have. He's poured a lot of his heart and soul into this program. The year he's been here, he's never played in an NCAA tournament. The year he was at Oregon was a COVID year, so there was no tournament, and they didn't make it when he was at St. Peter's, or his 2 years at Hofstra. So we're going to be playing in the NCAA tournament. We need to try to get as high a seed as possible, and we need to try to make a run, because I think it's the best sporting event on the planet. To get him as many games in the tournament as possible would be great for him.
You mentioned Khalif Battle. Looking at the film, what do you think he's done so well the past 4 games, and how do you go about slowing him down?
Yeah, he gets to the free throw line a lot. He's averaging almost 16 free throw attempts a game. So, one, we got to keep him out of the paint without fouling him. 2 is he Arkansas has traditionally been very good in putting their best players in good isolation situations where they're able to go one-on-one with good matchups. So we got to try to keep the matchups the way we like them, and then we got to give a lot of help, off some other guys on the floor that we can help off of, because he's playing as well as anybody in the country right now. So, yeah, we got to keep him off the foul line as much as possible and keep him out of the lane. And now he's also their most, when you look at shot geography, he's the guy that shoots the most efficient shots. A lot of their other guys shoot a lot of tough mid-range. If you look at percentage of shots coming from the free throw line to rim and threes, he's by far and away their guy that shoots the most percentage of his shots from 3 free throw line and at the rim. So, we got to take his 3 away, and then we got to try to force him to shoot the contested long twos that the rest of his teammates take. That he hasn't shot as many of those, and he's been able to get to the line, he's been able to get to the rim, and he's been able to knock down threes. So we got to try to take those away.
Yeah, I wanted to ask kind of what this senior class has meant to you and how unique it is that none of them except for Max started their career at Alabama. They're all transfers. And then besides that, also, could we get an update on Rylan and his injury?
Yeah, so I think it's the way college basketball has become over the last few years, just with the transfer portal and kids coming in. It's, they're all really good players. They're all a big part of us winning this year. But I think the days where you see a really high-level player stick around for 4 straight years, you're not going to see as much of that. I mean, hopefully we get it some, and we get some really good high school players that want to stay here. But, some of the high school players are really good, and they get to the NBA right away, and Some of them think they're really good, and if they're not getting the NBA right away, it's time to find greener grass somewhere else, is what it seems like a little bit, rather than sticking around and trying to make it work at the place you're at. So I think, and sometimes the transfers make sense. Like, I mean, you look at a lot of the transfers we took. I mean, Aaron, Grant, Nick, Mark, and Reitzel all started at a lower level school. So if you're playing really well, it's not like they're running from competition. They played really well where they were at, and they were able to work their way up. I mean, you know, Estrada started at St. Peter's, played great, and was able to play his way up. Grant's at North Dakota State. Pringle started his career at Wofford. Sears, you know, went to Ohio, and Reitzel went to Cal State Fullerton. So we're a higher level than all those. So I think those are, you know, transfer decisions that make sense to move up, play against the highest level. And I think you'll see a lot more of that, you know, as we move forward with the way the transfer portal's working. And then Rylan, you asked about Rylan. Yeah, his MRI, we got his MRI results back yesterday. The calf strain, the MRI results were a lot better than what we had feared they might be. So he's on a day-to-day basis right now, just working through with Clark as many hours as he can be in training room, trying to get him back as quick as possible. But I don't know for sure when he'll be back.
Coach, you've challenged this team multiple times to guard better. During practice, is there a guy in there that's taken it upon themselves from a leadership perspective to try to will the guys to up their effort? And have you seen that translate when the game starts?
Yeah, that's a great question, because that's what we need to have happen, is somebody really step it up. I'll say this, since Reitzel's been back in and he's had a couple good days of practice, I think he's been, you know, maybe he was out long and realized what he's missing, and he's got fresh legs. He's been great. His energy, his talk, his making tough plays. You know, I'd say he's probably the one that sticks out the most. I think Nick Pringle's been trying to be a pretty good leader for us too, in a lot of regards. And then there's some other guys that aren't talking as much, but their effort's been better. And, you know, I think Grant Nelson and Estrada both tried to play a lot harder. I noticed that too. But if you came to this week's practices, particularly the last 2 days, I think Reitzel stands out as the guy that's probably done the most in that regard.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Adam Bowman. What he's brought, you've been with him a while, but what does he specifically do to help this team do what it does and work well, and just even with game plan and things?
Yeah, so this is my 9th season with him, which is a long time in this business. You know, I hired him as our ops guy. He was in the SEC before I hired him at Buffalo. He was a video coordinator at Mississippi State. I needed a really good, super organized ops guy. Kind of Brian Hodgson I'd hired as an assistant. Brian gave me his name through a connection of his, and I interviewed him. He was great. Came up to Buffalo and dove all in. Super organized, very detail oriented. You know, it's like Adam starts to figure out what you need, want, and starts to fill in all the cracks. And he, I think, started to figure out how much analytics we wanted to use and get into it. And he started diving in, taught himself how to code. He works really hard. I mean, he's in the office a lot and works hard. So then when we brought him down here, you know, he's our director of ops all 4 years at Buffalo, but was getting more and more involved with like all the analytics side of it. We came down as our director of ops. It was nice. We had an assistant ops that Alex has said had kind of been running everything as an assistant. She was able to still run a lot of the ops stuff, even though his technical title was director of ops. Well, she was doing most of the ops work. So he was able to really dive into analytics. And then when we were able to, you know, kind of create that director of analytics and scouting, we took all the non-basketball stuff off his plate and gave it to her and moved her up into ops, and then made him the director of analytics. So once he went all in on the basketball side, and that was still in the rule, was you couldn't coach on the floor. So he's all basketball off the floor. I just made him over all of it. So he was over the video guy, over the analytics, which he ran. And we got a lot of GAs and stuff involved with it, over scouting and everything. So he to me, he fills it. He knows all the app stuff, so he's great. He's been there. He fills in all the non-coaching basketball related stuff, and he's really educated himself a lot on analytics, how to create the reports, how to run an analytics team, how to code based on the video. So he's good. I mean, Coach Pannone came from the NBA and made the point that what we're doing analytics-wise here is probably a lot better than what a lot of NBA teams are doing on a day-to-day basis, practice reports, what we're getting in the game stuff. So he's been that guy that's really done that. If that's probably a long-winded answer. Does that give you enough for what you're looking for? Yeah. Okay.
Is Reitzel still in a place where he's being eased back and you got to watch his minutes, or is he a full green light for tomorrow?
Man, as far as I can tell, he's at a full green light. Now, again, we're trying not – yesterday's practice to me would have been the one because we were off Wednesday. And so we went harder Thursday. And if he responded to that one well, which he did, he was able to go off today. Now, today is very short, day before a game, but he was able to participate fully today. As long as tomorrow he's still in a great place because it's every day is a new checkup, then I think as long as I get great feedback tomorrow, I think he's full go.
Coach, there was an unusual play in the Florida game in which loose ball got pretty rough, and I wondered if you're thinking, like I'm thinking, that loose balls now might turn into something pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Eads, our director of officials, about that play. I'm guessing the Rylan Griffin play is the one you're talking about. Yeah, I was a little upset with that play. I thought Rylan got to the ball first and got taken out, and I was correct. I ended up getting a T in the game on it, but they missed the call on that. I mean, like the referees are humans. They're going to make some mistakes. So I don't think the plan is not to let loose balls turn into scrums. I mean, they should have called a foul. They didn't. Director of officials is good. Mike's great. Our officials in the league are pretty good most nights, and they blew the call. They should have called it, and they blew it. And I don't think loose balls are going to turn into reckless plays. I mean, there should have been a foul called. I thought Ryan was playing hard. He got to the ball first. They took him out of the air. It's a foul. It wasn't called. So, we've had lots of guys get in for loose balls. I mean, loose balls they're basketball play. Should guys be trying to take each other out? I don't think the kid on Florida purposely did that in that game. It just was a rough play that was not called and should have been called.
Bob Holt, go ahead.
Hey, Nate, how you doing? Hope you like my Packers cap.
I can barely see it. It's different now that everybody's in person, but I see it. You got the Green Bay Packers hat on, right?
It's kind of like Lombardi used to wear.
You got it is probably Lombardi's hat, isn't it? You bought it at an auction?
It could be old enough. No.
Somebody gave me one of Wim Sanderson's sports coats. I have like one of Wim's original sport coats. So I was thinking maybe you had the same kind of deal.
No, I just got it online a couple of years ago. But hey, I was wanting to ask you. The Kentucky Arkansas game last week. That was kind of looked like you guys could have played a game like that. The way you get up and down the court and like you alluded to, Arkansas's offense has been much better of late. Could you see it being a game like in the hundreds, like both of you in the hundreds, or just what do you?
Based on their Kentucky game, it didn't look like either program was trying to slow it down in that game. I don't think we've ever tried to slow the ball down here, until maybe the last couple minutes when we've got a lead. So if Arkansas wants to run, we certainly like to run. Now, I'd hope that we'd do a better job guarding than we did when we played Kentucky. What was the final score? They were both over 100 in that game, right, Bob?
It was Kentucky won 111 to 102.
111-102. So Arkansas did a better job than we did. Ours was 117, and we didn't make it over 100. We made it to 95. So, look, I'd like to hope we could do a better job defensively, but we're going to run the ball, and looks like Arkansas is trying to run a lot more now too. So, be nice for our defense if both teams weren't over 100, but we'll see what happens. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.